Good afternoon, everyone. This is always kind of a difficult session because it's not the regular pattern. I've been I'm doing this online training with my dogs because we've been traveling together, and I realized they needed more training. But anyway, the whole point of the training is to change patterns of the dogs and of the person. And it's really hard work. All three of us are exhausted. I think it's something that is in the reading today. We get so easily relying on our patterns. And in fact, things are constantly changing. So that's kind of why this pandemic was like a worldwide session for everyone, because all of a sudden everyone's pattern was disrupted, and we all struggled with that. But anyway, this is the last Dharma talk. Tomorrow I'll talk a little bit about New Year's, but I'm still talking about the Tenzo Kyokun, the instructions to the Dogons. Talking about what Tenzo is. And I've just been really reading for you. Can everyone hear me? That's okay. I can't. Okay. Yeah. Yesterday, I finished it. Actually, I did the end first, which is the 3 kinds of Tenzo mind, which is really the mind of the Bodhisattva. Joyful and appreciative and grateful for our life as it is. Parental, seeing all things as our children and caring for all things as though they were our child. And magnanimous, which is including everything. And I said that, which I kind of skipped over, Dogen spends a lot of time talking about cooking, how to cook. Dogen's cookbook is really to appreciate every ingredient and to be mindful of every ingredient. So some of this is part of the first part, where he talks about the attitude towards our ingredients and towards cooking. He says, when you prepare food, never view the ingredients from some commonly held perspective, nor think about them only with your emotions. Maintain an attitude that tries to build great temples from ordinary greens, that expounds the Buddha Dharma through the most trivial activity when making a soup with ordinary greens. Do not be carried away by feelings or dislike towards them, nor regard them lightly. Neither jump for joy simply because you have been given the ingredients of superior quality to make a special dish. By the same token, that you do not indulge in a meal because of its particularly good taste, there is no reason to feel an aversion towards an ordinary one. Do not be negligent and careless just because the materials seem plain, and hesitate to work more diligently with materials of superior quality. Your attitude towards things should not be contingent upon their quality. A person who is influenced by the quality of a thing, or who changes his speech or manner according to the appearance or position of the people he meets, is not a man working in the way. And I feel like so often people complain about Zen because it's boring, the same thing every morning, getting up, doing Zazen. The work is, weeding the garden, preparing the meals, doing a spreadsheet. It's not glamorous, exciting, although sometimes it is. So I mean, and that's what I hear from people about Zen practice, like during Ondo. It's so boring, or it's too much emotions coming up, too much drama, and I think that's true for everyone, that we have difficulty when it's too boring, and we have difficulty when it's too dramatic. The ability to just see everything is just as it is in this moment. Now it's dramatic and exciting. Now it's ordinary and boring. So cultivating that mind is not easy, because we yearn for whatever, things to be different. So to accept things as they are. I think that's this gratitude mind in this moment. And as Bernie talks about the ingredients, to just accept our ingredients in each moment, which is, Bernie got that from Dogen. And it could be champagne and caviar, could be beans and rice. That's our practice. So he goes on to say, these things, seeing things this way, are truly just a matter of course. Yet we remain unclear about them because our minds go racing about like horses running wild in the fields, while our emotions remain unmanageable like monkeys swinging in the trees. If only we would step back to carefully reflect on the horse and monkey, our lives would naturally become one with our work. Doing so is the means whereby we turn things even while simultaneously we are being turned by them. So, like I've heard people say that about breath. When we start Zen practice, we are breathing, and at some point we realize we are being breathed. So I'm doing things, but also the universe is doing things. And to get in touch with that is marvelous, to let go of ourselves enough that we can just be in accord with the universe. It is vital that we clarify and harmonize our lives with our work and not lose sight of either the absolute or the practical. Handle even a single leaf of a green in such a way that it manifests the body of the Buddha. This in turn allows the Buddha to manifest through the leaf. This is a power which you cannot grasp with your rational mind. It operates freely according to the situation in the most natural way. At the same time, this power functions in our lives to clarify and settle activity and is beneficial to all living things. And that just happened to me maybe this period. Anyway, recently I was sitting and not quite comfortable, and then all of a sudden the energy just came through me and my posture straightened and the pain disappeared, the discomfort disappeared, and it was like something else, or true self. I don't know what it was, but this power that you cannot grasp with your rational mind that arises out of Zazen, and where we can allow ourselves to be, well, he says, clarified and settle ourselves through this power. Anyway, as he says, can't explain it, not rational, so I'll move on. Okay, so I said I'd tell you this story, these Tenzo stories. So Dogen had so much profound insight that came from Tenzos, from cooks that he met. And this is about, I mentioned it yesterday, when he arrived in China. He says, I arrived in China in April 1223, but being unable to disembark immediately, I stayed on board ship. One day in May, while I was talking with the captain, an old monk about 60 years of age came directly to the ship to buy mushroom from the Japanese merchants on board. I invited him for tea and asked him where he was from. He said he was the Tenzo at the monastery on Mount Ayuwang, and added, I'm originally from Shishu, although I left there over 40 years ago. I am 61 this year and have practiced in several Zen monasteries. Last year, while living in Guyan, I visited the monastery on Mount Awang, though I spent my time there totally confused as to what I was doing. Then after the summer practice period, I was appointed Tenzo. Tomorrow is May 5th, but I have nothing special to offer the monks. I wanted to prepare, May 5th must be a holiday. I wanted to prepare a noodle soup, but as I did not have any mushrooms to put in it, I came here to buy some. I asked, when did you leave Awang? He replied, after lunch. Is it far from here? About 14 miles. When will you go back? I am planning to return as soon as I bought the mushrooms. And Dogen says, you can't imagine how fortunate I feel that we were able to meet unexpectedly like this. If it's possible, I wish you would stay a while longer and allow me to offer you something more. And the Tenzo says, I'm sorry, but that is impossible just now. If I am not there tomorrow to prepare the meal, it will not be made well. Dogen, but surely there must be others in a place as large as Awang who are capable of preparing the meals. They will not be that inconvenienced if you are not there, will they? And the Tenzo says, I have been put in charge of this work in my old age. It is, so to speak, the practice of an old man. How can I entrust all that work to others? Moreover, when I left the temple, I did not ask for permission to stay out overnight. Dogen says, but why, when you are so old, do you do the hard work of a Tenzo? Why do you not spend your time practicing Zazen or working on the koans of former teachers? Is there something special to be gained from working, particularly as a Tenzo? He burst out laughing and remarked, my good friend from abroad, You do not yet understand what practice is all about, nor do you know the meaning of characters. When I heard this old monk's words, I was taken aback and felt greatly ashamed. So I asked him, what are characters and what is practice? He replied, if you do not deceive yourself about this problem, you will be a man of the way. At the time, I was unable to grasp the meaning. The Tenzo says, if you don't understand, please come see me sometime and we will talk about the nature of characters more fully. Getting late and the sun is about to set. I'm afraid I cannot stay any longer. So he had walked 14 miles, which in my good days, that's about 5 hours, to buy some mushrooms. And then he was headed back to make this meal special for the Sangha. Dogen goes on. In July of the same year, I stayed on Mount Tiangan. One day, the Tenzo came to see me. He said, as the summer practices period has ended, I shall be retiring as Tenzo and plan to return home. I heard that you were here and wanted very much to talk with you and see how you were doing. I was happy to see him and we talked about many things, but finally came to the matter concerning the practice and study of characters. He said, a person who studies characters must know just what characters are. And one intending to practice the way must understand what practice is. I asked him once again, what are the characters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He replied, what is practice? What is practice? There is nothing in the world that is hidden. And then Dogen quotes a poem, a gatha, by another Zen master, 1735. The truth you search for cannot be grasped. As night advances, a bright moon illuminates the whole ocean. The dragon jewels are found in every wave. Looking for the moon, it is here, in this wave, in the next. It dawned on me that this gatha is what the Tenzo was teaching. I used to see the characters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I also see 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Future students must be able to see that side from this side, as well as this side from that side. Practicing with intense effort, using all your ingenuity, you will be able to grasp genuine Zen that goes beyond the surface of characters. To do otherwise will only result in being led about by various tainted Zen that will leave you incapable of preparing meals skillfully for the community. You should think only about how to best serve the community, having no fear of poverty. As long as your mind is not limited, you will naturally receive unlimited fortune. So then I wanted to share this koan because it's a little more complicated, a little more subtle. But the characters or the numbers or the things, our intellectual mind, our discriminating mind, how much time we spend there analyzing things, trying to understand things, naming things, numbering things. And what the Tenzo says is true practice is taking care of right here. So he his job is to go home and fix the noodles. So that's what he does. I mean, we might think that isn't it better to share the Dharma with Dogen? But his job is cooking the noodles. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about how Bernie was inspired by this Tenzo Kyokun in his book, which is Instructions to the Cook, which maybe you've read. I really recommend both of these. As I said yesterday, I think this is maybe the most accessible of Dogen's writing, or one of the most. With this last koan being a little more gnarly, one to really sit with. But for those who want to start reading Dogen, I really recommend Tenzo Kyokun as one of the first books, because it is quite accessible. It's quite easy to see what he's saying. Let go of our grasping and wants and complicated ideas and concepts, all of that stuff, and just be in each moment. And how to be in each moment is taking care of what needs to be taken care of, whatever our position is. So Bernie, I'm just going to read you the introduction, which talks about how he became inspired to write this book. Bernie's book, I also recommend, especially if you want to just get to know him better. It talks about his initial, the initial realization he had that moved him towards social action, and also the beginnings of the bakery and the beginnings of his thinking. His later work is a little different. This is really early Bernie, but I think it really can give you a sense of his inspiration. So just the prologue that he writes is, when I first began to study Zen, my teacher, Maizumi Roshi, gave me a koan. How do you go further from the top of a 100-foot pole? You can't use your rational mind to answer this koan or any Zen question in a logical way. You might meditate a long time and come back to the Zen master and say the answer is to live fully. So how do you step forward from a 100-foot pole implies after waking up to the oneness of all things, to the three aspects of our life, which is suffering, no self, and constantly changing. When you wake up to that, then what? Then what do? When you reach the top, the very peak of your practice goals, and the teacher says, step off. But step off where? Step off how? So Bernie says, maybe you say the answer is to live fully. That's a good beginning, but it's only the rational, logical part of the answer. You have to go further. You have to demonstrate the answer. You have to embody the answer. You have to show the Zen master how you live fully in the moment. So those of you working on koans know that that's what I'll say. Well, show it. How do you show it? How do you demonstrate it? So it's not how how you explain it, it's from your gut. How do you move from your gut and embody this koan? Koan practice is not intellectual, and it's very hard for those who continue to try to make it that way, myself included. And so much easier for a child to do koans because children more naturally embody. It's only after, we start developing, training our intellectual that we start depending on it. But anyway, Bernie says, stepping off the top of the 100-foot pole, you have to embody the answer. You have to show the Zen master how you live fully in the moment. You have to manifest the answer in your life, in your everyday relationships, in the marketplace, at work, as well as in the temple or meditation hall. When we live our life fully, our life becomes what Zen Buddhists call the supreme meal. We make the supreme meal by using the ingredients at hand to make the best meal possible, then by offering it. This book is about how to cook the supreme meal of your life. This book is about how to step off the 100-foot pole and live fully in the marketplace and in every other sphere of your life. So he's referring to a couple things there. The marketplace, being fully in the marketplace, is the 10th ox herding picture, the last step of spiritual practice. And of course, any of these steps are really circles. So, and then we're back to searching for true self again. But he's referring to that. The highest achievement is to live fully in our life, every moment, to fully be present and to appreciate our life, which Maizumi Roshi always said, to appreciate our ingredients, which is that grateful mind, and then use the ingredients we have. And, don't look around so much about, oh, if I only had more money or more friends or more Facebook posts or, more education, a better understanding, more time to sit, less time to sit. But take the ingredients that we have. And I wanted to say, too, about what I talked about yesterday, talking about using all of the ingredients, like in cooking, to use all your ingredients that are in the refrigerator. If something's spoiled, then the correct way to use it is to put it in the compost pail. So I just was worried because I don't know if Kyokun remembers Ryotetsu, the ultimate Tenzo Ryotetsu, and a complete fan of the Tenzo Kyokun. But every supper would be all the leftovers, and he just put them all together in a pot. And we would tease him because one time there was porridge and there's miso soup and there's all this stuff, but for some reason there's also grapefruit rinds. With grapefruit rinds in the gruel. We call that the gruel. We got the gruel, and we teased Ryotetsu. No one could eat it. It was terrible. So when we use our ingredients, we consider harmony. And I think Bernie says somewhere, maybe one ingredient I can't use now, but I can use it for dessert or for tomorrow's breakfast. And some things, if it's spoiled, if we, follow this metaphor, sometimes people are spoiled and they need special consideration. Sometimes they need to be institutionalized to protect other people. So when we say that magnanimous mind that accepts everything, it's also seeing the proper place for everything. I don't know, that's the word that Bernie used. It sounds kind of funny because know your place is kind of something that women rebel against. We've been told that too often. But right time, place, situation is part of our precepts. So anyway, please throw away spoiled food, put it in the compost, don't feed it, people. And I'm just going to read you some of the highlights that Bernie looks at in his book, Transformation. I've really been thinking about transformation lately because just seems like so much of it's going on, just tremendous transformation in Zen in America, in my life, in my friends' lives, and actually every moment is a new moment, and moments are shorter than a second. So every moment we have the opportunity to completely transform. And in that koan where he talked about characters and truly embodying our life, is talking about look at it from a different way. Every moment we can choose to look at it from a different way. I remember Tenzo saying, if you're knocking your head against the door, trying to get through, turn around. Maybe there's an open door behind you. So transformation means accepting all the ingredients, everything that I have, opening up to the shadow, which was a theme during the opening council, opening up to all the dark corners, opening up to people we usually wouldn't. So every moment is the opportunity for transformation. And of course, to my mind, there's nothing more transformational than Seisen. That just all of a sudden, everything realigns in the process. And ingredients, use everything, non-rejection. One time after Bernie had gone to New York, he came back. I remember this conversation. It was in the garage, in the wood shop at CCLA. And he said to me that he had started this practice, which was any organization, look at who is excluded. And of course, yeah, there are people who are excluded from, say, Sweetwater Zen Center. People who can't have trouble following the rules and can be excluded. But just look at that. Look at what your policy for exclusion is in any organization and how to move towards more and more inclusion, how to include certain people who we might think we might not want to. My favorite Bernie koan, I don't know if anyone likes it as much as me. And he says this is a real story, that there was people were doing service, and there was a very good-looking young priest whose robes were perfect, unlike mine, and who, you know, everybody looked up to, and he was very fastidious about how service was done. And an unhoused person came in and you know, didn't smell that good, and he was late. He came in after service had started, and the priest said, you can't come in here now, the service has already started. And he says, but Father, as Bernie explained, this unhoused person was Catholic, so when he saw a priest, he said, but Father, I've already taken off my shoes, which to me is I've already done the first step of opening myself up to the Dharma, and you won't let me in. Won't you please let me in? So just this is, it's perfect for Bernie too, to look at who are we excluding? And yeah, somebody who knows what time service is and always isn't late, it might make sense to go, just wait, you're not on time. But someone who has that genuine aspiration, what do you do? So anyway, that's one of the topics. A place for everybody. Start by doing nothing. So the 3 tenets, which I mentioned yesterday, and I see the 3 tenets in the Tenzo Kyokun, not knowing, Zazen, that's the start by doing nothing. So sometimes people do more harm than good by running around trying to fix things and throwing money at things and too much effort, wearing ourselves out, burning out. Once I retired, I found out there's a lot of stuff I don't need to do. I thought it was so important. So start by doing nothing, not knowing, then bearing witness, then pay attention. So that's the bearing witness to the food, and then loving action, then embody the teachings of Buddha through our work, through our service. The clutter of conditioning. I don't know why, but in this book, he seems to be very interested in keeping things clean and orderly, which I didn't know. I never heard him talk about that, but wow, that's a good one, because I have a lot of clutter. I'm going to think about that. The clutter of conditioning. Nothing is missing. I feel like something's missing. What? It's all right here. Nothing is missing. Let go and accept. So my ingredients. I'm not young. I'm not beautiful. I'm not rich. This is who I am. Our faults are our best ingredients, which I'm interested to read that. But certainly when we encounter our faults, and when we find ourselves doing something that goes against our values, that's a wonderful point of practice. Hard, boy, that dark place, because he talks about this joyful heaving Dogen, joyful, grateful mind, but there's a real dark place that doesn't have joy and doesn't have gratitude, and that's filled with guilt or blame or just unhappiness, depression, and that is such a wonderful point of practice. And I always tell myself when I'm there, I'm just like, oh, I don't like this. I don't want to. I liked it when I was happy. I hate this. Life sucks. And then this little voice goes, well, remember what you say. Just be it. Just embrace it. And then, there's techniques like count your blessings or do Zazen, or, how we work with our faults and how we work with that rabbit hole or dark place is one thing that comes out of our practice. So can't believe I managed that in just the right amount of time. Oh, and I did want to say that I don't think that our Tenzo should be like they did in 1200. this transformation. And I like that. In some ways, I really like that we all are our own Tenzo, because I think it is important to honor dietary needs for our health and well-being. So I don't know what's the best way in the modern Zen community to prepare and serve food. But it certainly is a wonderful practice when we have an opportunity to do that, to prepare and serve food and take that as. But also all of this has to do with it, whatever you're doing, whatever your life is, as Bernie said, to completely embody your work and to treat it as service and enjoy it. And if we're not enjoying it, then see what adjustments need to be made. So, yeah, let's keep on going. This is a very special time of the year, and I'll talk tomorrow about the ritual that we do to go through the New Year's. But I encourage you to stay with it, even though we don't have the same kind of schedule that helps ground us, to stay grounded in not knowing and not having a set schedule, not having a set way to do things. Yeah, so let's just keep on going.